at the moment. This is Walt Moreau, Alex DeSamsono, also members of the board, and we're really here to listen to you. If anybody wants to know, I can describe the solar panel project as proposed. Nothing is decided. There'll be, is that okay? Shall I? This big green pipe is our well. There's a 125-foot isolation radius around the well on which there will be no equipment, no entrance. There will be 2 blocks of solar panels, a smaller block on this end, the southern border of which will be 50 feet from the waterway, and you can see there's orange flags across that. You'll also notice that it's about 4 feet below the roadbed. The top of the panels is approximately 6 feet high. The top of the fence surrounding each block, which is about approximately 7 feet high. There'll be a larger block toward that end of panels, and I didn't make copies for everybody, but I have copies of the proposed layout. Coming from the well to the pump house and down this way at some distance from the pavement is our main water line, and the Pownal Fire District number 2 has 143 residential units. That would be an apartment or a house, serving approximately 250 people. The well is 70 feet deep, and I copied from the original source evaluation area. The well D1 develops its yield from a semi-confined to confined gravel aquifer. The gravel is coarse and overlain by till with a very fine textured matrix. 2 confining layers, which is clay mixed with organic matter. It's called very fine till. There's 1 layer 17 feet deep down to 30 feet deep. There's another 10 feet of gravel or sand, and another layer from 40 feet deep to 60 feet deep of clay till. From 60 feet to 70 feet at our well point is coarse gravel, and it's filled with water that follows the Hoosick Valley. This whole clay bed lays right up through Williamstown, and so the clay is impermeable to water, so nothing that happens on the surface can get to the water. The line of solar panels and fencing will be inside the actual line of where our main water line runs down into Pownal Village and over to Winchester Store and the Green Mountain Trailer Park. And so...
Will it be right up against the road here?
No.
How far from the road? How far
The
in?
Vermont state regulations say minimum 25 feet from the center of the road. It's about 12 or 14, so it could be, by Vermont state regulation, 10 feet, but it's going to be more just in case the water system has to dig up the main line. There can't be any construction over it, so I can't tell you exactly. Now, no water line runs that way, so it's possible the solar panels in the north block would be closer to the road. all energy producing facilities are regulated and approved by the Public Service Board, which is located in Montpelier, Vermont, and it's a semi-judicial board of experts who have several criteria that they judge. And so this project will be either approved or not approved based upon the solar developers' applications.
And how far along is that application?
The application is still in the discussion stage. The board, the developer is called Green Lantern Development. It was really Alex's idea to look into solar panels, seeing them around. Right now, the board sends out quarterly bills, and the quarterly bills are $115 a quarter per residential unit, and the water is not metered, so you use as much as you need, and the board has to pay a bond payment to the U.S. Department of Agriculture of $14,280 more or less twice a year, on October 1st and April 1st. Pretty much with all the expenses of the board, we're breaking even or slightly above or slightly below. This project, if approved and implemented, would give the water system approximately $8,000 a year, combined between rental of the land and reduction in our power usage. We would be one of several what are called off-takers, that is, people who commit to not exactly taking this electricity, because the electricity is fed into the grid, but it would be approximately $480 reduction in our $4,000 a year electric bill. We have a water tank up on Burrington Road with computers and valves, and we have the pump house and a big honking pump down 70 feet deep. I would like eventually to walk down to the corner and view toward the neighbors' houses, but one last thing I want to say is the developer, Green Lantern Development, is committed to foliar plantings, bushes, some kind of screening.
It can't be that high though, because they have to, you have to get the sun. So really, they're not going to. I mean, 7 feet. You're talking 6 and then 7
Yeah.
foot.
Well,
so you're not going to be able to really.
Landscapers. I see somebody with a countryside sweatshirt. Landscapers know how to choose or know how to prune or whatever.
Greg, can you talk a little bit about the benefits to the town? Like, will our electricity bill go down? Will our water bill go down? How many local jobs will be brought in for this project?
Since this isn't built and isn't implemented, there's no income from it, so there's nothing yet. But I can see one benefit at least, which would be less raising of water rates. The second benefit depends on the school board, or really the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union, who could sign up to be off-takers, getting approximately 13.7, approximately. Exactly.
What about the town of Pownal?
Well, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'll be there in a second, okay? The school board uses about 240,000 kilowatt hours of electricity a year. The town of Pownal, from street lights and town office, but mostly the sewer system, which, by the way, there's a pumping station right on the northern corner of this property. They use about 110,000 kilowatt hours. Now we use about 29,000. So if we get 480, the school, I'm just going by 10 times, 240,000, they could get maybe 4,000 lessening. This will also be a taxable leasehold improvement, or whatever you call it. It'll be something that somebody owns that will be taxed as a property tax. So the town will get some amount of property tax on the solar panels. So those are 4 benefits that I see: stabilizing the financial situation of the water system, lessening a chance. We certainly can't stand here and say we're going to lower your water bills. It's not built and we don't have any income, but there's less chance we would raise the water bills. 2 years ago, the board raised the water bills. It had been $100 a quarter since 2002. In 2013, we raised it to $115 a quarter. At the time, our advisor, who said, hey, you guys aren't meeting, you know, you're not making enough to pay your bills, he advised us to raise it to $125 a quarter so that we could build up some equity. But the board is very mindful that already we have many low-income people on our water system, and every quarter we have to post these pink notices, got to be pink, state law, on people's boards, and tell them if they don't pay, they'll have to have their water shut off until they pay. I'm just saying that users at this point, not all users seem to be able to pay their bills. So we raised it to 115 rather than 125. We hope that this would lessen the necessity, but let me tell you one more thing. We just repaired one of 34 hydrants. Now, we didn't replace the hydrant. The hydrant has this big brass disc, like if you've ever changed a faucet washer in your faucet, and a big rubber thing. It costs $980 to have a company come take. As a matter of fact, we were saying, ooh, we should have gotten the brass, you know? I mean, it must be worth something. We can still call them and say, hey, where's our big piece of brass that you took away when you put it in? The hydrant was leaking. We used to have a lawyer who worked pro bono, but he wouldn't answer our calls. We now have a lawyer who answers our calls, and his fees are $190 an hour. This is just an example of some of the different things. I mean, our lawyer before did great service to the water system, but so anyway, these are the Prudential board is caught in a vice of not feeling able to raise and looking at the possibility of this solar project for income for the town. Not for the town. Now, Pownal Fire District number 2 is, under Vermont state law, a municipality. And the reason it's called a municipality is that we have, the Prudential board has a responsibility to send out bills and can turn off people's water if they don't pay their bills. That's like, remember what Lincoln said, I have the awesome power of the United States. You know, that's an awesome, serious responsibility. We don't like to turn off anybody's water. We have to, everybody has to share, though.
Do you happen to know how many acres are up where the holding tank is located?
The holding tank, I think, is about 5 acres, but it's not flat. It's down in a valley. There's nowhere for panels up there.
Oh, no?
You can come look.
I'm pretty sure Sally is putting them up on a hill there. It's not flat. either. I mean, she's going to.
I see them on hills all the time.
Yeah, they're on hills all the time.
Depends on which way the hill is facing and this and that too. There's a lot of,
You're gonna
there's a
southwestern
lot of,
exposure, right?
Sure.
The exposure
Yeah.
of the land
Sure,
that
but
we
it can be
have,
done.
this is the best land for solar panels.
So if it's
That we
good for
have.
solar panels, it might be good for other things, maybe. I mean, if you guys were open to
Yeah,
alternatives.
solar panels just sit there. They just sit there. They're enclosed, and they absorb the sunlight.
I mean, is that a possibility if this falls through, that up there?
I wouldn't think so.
No?
I live right next to it. The only reason I'm in the water system is that we share a long property line with the acreage that used to be the Murray Lewis Reservoir.
I'm familiar with the Murray. I was one of the original members of this fire
Would
district.
you tell me your name, please, sir?
Ed Haley. I live right here across the street.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, Ray.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Two-part, actually. How many panels are we talking?
Would you like me to explain third-party net metering?
No, I just like
No.
the rough ballpark on what
Okay,
the
good.
expansion part is.
I mean,
for-
we're hoping for 375 to 400 kilowatts of capacity. I could email you this PDF.
Well, wouldn't the guy who's doing the, wouldn't he
Well,
know?
how many
How many-
panels is that? 375
Well,
kilowatt.
I can talk about
That's what he's trying to
panels
talk to you
or
about.
square rectangles.
Right.
Yeah.
How many
A panel was
rectangles?
2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and then they're made in, looks like
Into blocks.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like about 15 rows with about, and here's the Haley's house. Here's the Haley's driveway, which is right down there. And the southernmost panel would be just about opposite the Haley's driveway. The water system does own on the other side of the waterway another acre, but that's like right up against the parents' house, and the board has, we were hoping for 500 kilowatts and $10,000 a year, but only 375 to 400 is going to fit in north of the waterway.
So you
And
have 15 rows, but how many panels or squares are in each one of those rows?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah,
So 6 times 15? Is that what you're saying?
but that's not, I mean, that's a
You're
block.
talking kilowatts. I'm talking rows and panels.
Well, I added together. Some of the rows only have 2 of those rectangles, and some have 6 rectangles.
Gotcha.
Second part of that question is now, with you coming 15 or 20 feet off the side of the highway, what is the protection? These are not harmful per se until a car runs into them.
They're not even harmful when a car runs into them because
Well-
they're baked ceramic, baked at
There's nothing
2,000
that breaks
Fahrenheit.
inside when
They've been known to explode and stay burning for up to 26 hours on
they crash. What I'm
impact.
saying is, what's the
I don't think
protection
so.
from the roadway to the panels when you're talking 15 feet from the highway, from a traveled road, where it's accessible to run into them?
I don't know.
I mean,
Ralph,
that
I don't
would
see
be
any
something.
protection.
But that would seem like you would want them protected, the people doing it. the
They're
property owners.
thin glass. The rare earths that are in them are in your TV and they're in your cell phone.
Right, but you wouldn't want your TV smashed in your living room.
And you wouldn't want it over the water supply.
And that's what I'm saying. Do we know any dangers of them being broke, laying on the ground?
Well, we have
Because if there's no
looked
protection
into
to them,
this.
the odds of you
We
getting hit are relatively good.
Yeah, 50 miles an hour in the ice.
all these questions have scientific research, which I cannot quote, but the panels don't burn. They're made out of glass. Glass doesn't burn.
What's
Gla-
inside the panels? Isn't there hazardous material inside the panels?
In the same way there's hazardous material inside your flat screen TV.
I know,
it's
but
not
I'm
on top
talking,
of our drinking water.
right,
Right.
right.
But cars are on top of your drinking water. They have explosive. Sorry, I'm
We're
not.
talking about them being injured. You don't usually break things. This has the opportunity of being in harm's way
Yeah, but everything in it is solid. It's a solid,
until it gets broke.
it's still solid, but it's in pieces.
I think-
There's no liquid in it, and there's not an issue of,
I don't know that.
I
That's
think
why I'm
there's
asking the
a,
question.
I think there's a certified chemical-free solar panel, but I'm not sure that that's what they have laid out for this one.
I did the same thing.
I mean,
with
that
the
might
amount of
raise the
regulations.
cost, you know?
Yeah, with the amount of regulations, you gotta go for the USDA. I mean, so this, because it is a well, a public water supply,
Right,
you know, we can't just go and stick something here that is gonna be hazardous.
right.
It's gonna be overseen by,
So they'll be certified.
oh, absolutely. It's all gonna go
Certified
through all
chemical
sorts of
free.
engineering firms and everything have to approve it.
I don't.
And things
I don't
like that. It's
think.
like, we're not just coming up with a bright idea. We're plopping down stuff on here.
I
But
drink the water, folks.
But it's for 20 years, this contract, right? And so how do you have any of studies that show that it's been not an effect?
Well,
or
We
that
have
it's
studies
going,
that say,
Right, the
But
Massachusetts
but I'm,
Massachusetts
study.
yeah, not the
people have houses
Massachusetts
with them
one,
on-
but,
on their
no, I
house.
understand that. And I mean, having a personal thing on your house, that's different. This is, you know, a huge
How is it
acreage.
different?
Well, that's for personal use. This is, we're talking a huge acreage on a road that's 50 miles an hour. In Vermont, that's a lot of snow and ice. I mean, and tractor trailers. I mean, I've been living here now. They zoom by here. I mean, one false turn.
You know what, that condition is there, whether the panels are here or not.
But it would be safer if they weren't,
So
though.
if you were given an alternative, and I just have here something that the state of Vermont gave me today that said, well, we give out loans and grants to water municipalities all the time.
You know, we already have a
Would you be interested?
$400,000 loan.
Okay, so what about some of
Loans
the grants?
don't help.
What
What about the
some of
grants?
the grants to the public water systems for construction and emergency repair? I mean, I just got this today from the state of Vermont. Water source protection loans. Well, this is a source protection area, is it not?
You want to pay them, where you water bill?
$15.
It's a grant.
According to state regulations, 125 feet circumference around that wellhead. That's what's required. It's supposed to be not to deal with it.
How far are these going down into the ground?
Frost line, I guess. Just footings. It's steel racks with these glass panels hooked up to wires. Solar energy from a panel is direct current, so there will be blocks, you know, enclosed boxes inside the thing with inside the enclosure with inverters in them and transformers, etc.
Have you done any research into what it's going to do to property values?
I have information, but it's not directly relating to this size. It's more solar panels on houses enhances property values because of alternative
on
energy.
houses because of the alternative energy, but not in a neighborhood that is going to look industrial when you're done.
They've been known to decrease up to 30%. Is there any kind of bond in place in the contract that you guys are doing for the houses that are directly affected, or for the Pownal folks in general?
What do you mean by bond? There's
that
certainly
if we can't, say, turn around and sell our houses for what they're worth now, before this is going to go in, or is there any kind of bond in place for in the contract that say that tractor trailer does hit this and you know whatever happens, they explode, they don't, whatever could happen, catches fire? I mean, is there anything in place for the people of Pownal?
there's insurance coverage mandated.
And who pays that?
Third-party financing, there are several incentives which I won't go through unless you make me. But there are incentives to an investor to invest in alternative energy. And this makes it attractive to people who are good about money to commit money, pay for, I mean, for instance, the investors, or in this case the developer who is lining up the investors, is paying for our lawyer to review and negotiate the contract. Is also paying for Mark Youngstrom, who designed this system as an environmental hydrogeological engineer, to look over the engineering plans and give his informed opinion as to whether they're appropriate. As far as any bond to protect property values, I don't know anything about that. I've
And
never
the
heard.
insurance is for how long?
Insurance is for the life of the contract,
Which is
and
20 years?
The contract is for 20 years with a mutually agreed option for an additional 5-year renewal after 20 years.
How much insurance?
I would have,
Enough to
I
put
can't
in
tell you.
140 wells for families when something does go wrong and then the water is contaminated.
140 wells to families.
Well, yeah, you contaminate the drinking water. What are the people of the town going to
You
drink?
need to tell me how the drinking water could be contaminated.
Well,
But how could it, I mean, but
Yeah.
do you have proof
Tell us
that
There you
it's,
go.
yeah, I mean, is there any 20-year study that shows that it couldn't be?
Solar panels have been all around for 40 years.
But so is there a study to show that that's not going to happen? That it's safe? That, I mean, you've taken that precaution?
That's what the
Can
engineering
I
firm-
I
think
say-
we
all
should.
the other
I'd like to say something and interject here. My name's Dr. Jesse Herbert. I live off grid here in Pownal. I have solar panels, but I came here today because there was a few things I'd like to bring up, some questions I have, but I wanted to hear it. This gentleman, he was trying to say something before, and then I'd like to say something.
No, I just don't. Now, Alex says he drinks the water too. Then why would you want to put tons of, we all know, poisonous stuff right over a public drinking water supply? Why? I mean, if you want to save money, fellas, there's gotta be a better way.
We have lots of
Can I say?
alternatives.
Can I
Bring
say
the
something?
board, okay?
I'm not
And
here
help
to
us come up
fight.
with
I'd
a
love
better
to,
idea.
listen, we'd love to.
This
We
is
have,
the dumbest idea I've heard in a long
Can
time.
I? Can I
told
speak
you
to
that
this?
last time I went down to the meeting. Now wait just a minute,
Sure.
sir. You're talking about the government. You have no answers. You're full of ifs, buts, and maybe. We were told, oh, lead is safe. Oh yeah,
No.
good. DDT won't hurt you.
absolutely.
We had tons of that. Then we had Agent Orange. Oh, that won't hurt you. You know, asbestos, when I was young, oh, everybody worked in it. Now you're here tonight telling us, oh, this is not going to hurt your water supply, people. It's going to do you good. It's going to save you $10. Just sell your health for $10 bill. No, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 30. I don't know, but it's negotiable. Thank you.
It is. I mean, we just don't know. That's the
Now, you
problem.
tell me what is good about it. Really, what is good? Except it's going to save you a buck or two. I do not own anything. I'm a volunteer who serves on a board that governs a water system. So it's not going to benefit me other than to stabilize, well, I'm 84 years old. It won't benefit me much either, but
But those two little boys